This is Jim Williams with your Hurricane City Tropical Update for August 22nd, 7:30 p.m. Here's the latest on Hurricane Irene approaching the southeastern Bahamas. This is the HurTrack program animation based on the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, taking this over most of the Bahamas, especially the northwest Bahamas. They're really going to get pounded here. And then it keeps it just off the east coast of Florida, heading towards South Carolina, North Carolina border, maybe up into the Myrtle Beach area. Now, keep in mind when you're looking at a forecast track that goes out 5 days, there's a huge error, 250 miles. It could be all the way from the west coast of Florida all the way up to Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. That's the range of possibilities right now going out to 5 days. But usually a 3-day cone is pretty accurate, and right now the 3-day cone would pretty much keep it right off the coast of Florida. So residents in South Florida beginning to start feeling maybe a little bit of a sigh of relief that you're not going to get the full impacts of this, but there could still be some glancing blow impacts in South Florida. But the main threat right now is the Bahamas. Our current feature at Hurricane City is the Turks and Caicos Islands right out here in the eastern Bahamas, and they are going to be the first impacted here in about 10 hours by tropical storm force sustained winds. You know, Puerto Rico already got hammered by Hurricane Irene last night, and early this morning they have almost 1 million people without power. Very heavy flooding on the island. The rain continues with the feeder bands on the backside of Irene, so it's going to be a mess in Puerto Rico. Luckily, we have not heard of any fatalities at this time, but that may change. A real hard hit in Puerto Rico. In fact, Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico, will be another name taken off the list in my top 20 this year. That was number 11. And of course, we may have number 4 taken off the list, which is Great Exuma. And number 2 on my list is Grand Bahama Island. So I mentioned that on the Hurricane Season Kickoff show that the Bahamas could really get hit hard this year. And even South Florida, there's quite a bit of cities down here that could be affected this year. The season is young yet, but it looks like Irene may not severely impact South Florida, and most areas, except with the exception of maybe West Palm Beach, may have to deal with some high winds as this passes by to the east. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the water vapor loop of the United States and the Caribbean, and this is going to tell us a lot about what's going on with this system. Right now it's being steered by a high pressure ridge to its north. Let's go ahead and stop this image because it's kind of distracting with the black frame in there. But we have a high pressure ridge here north of Irene steering this system generally west-northwest like this. Now here's a trough strengthening up here, and this is going to move off to the northeast. But what's happening is we have a very strong high pressure ridge out of the Midwest and a very strong jet coming down here, and this dip is going to continue to break down this high pressure ridge, causing weakness along the east coast of the United States, which should cause Irene to eventually slow down and turn to the north. But the question is, how far west is this going to get before this turn takes place? And that all depends on the high pressure ridge to the north. Let's put this in motion one more time, and I'm going to show you a couple of model scenarios in just a minute. But again, this is really cranking up in here. And what the models have indicated over the last 24 hours is that this trough is going to amplify out here, and that's going to cause the weakness to happen a little bit sooner than what was anticipated, plus the fact that Irene is moving a little bit slower than it was yesterday at this time. The models were indicating it was going to be moving a little bit faster and a little bit further south here, which is why the Florida threat was so pronounced over the 3 or 4 days worth of model runs. But now that the trough is strengthening up in here, and this jet stream is strengthening, it's now apparent that the high pressure ridge is not going to be able to steer it into Florida. It's going to turn just off the coast of Florida. Now here's the close-up floater visible loop. Of course, it's getting dark out there now, but you can see in this very last image right here, here is our center of circulation right there, the eye of Hurricane Irene. And you can see it started down here near Guadalupe here, and then went right through Puerto Rico, causing a lot of damage, and now the system is up like this. It may even be turning a little bit more to the west-northwest, but if you extrapolate this, it takes it right through the Bahama Island chain, and again, those Bahamas Islands are really going to get hammered hard here over the next couple of days by a rapidly strengthening hurricane, I believe. But the only thing to keep in mind when looking at this satellite image is that the northern coast of the Dominican Republic has taken out some hurricanes in the past. For example, Hurricane Debbie back in 2000 went just like this. Now, all the models at this time had it as a major hurricane heading into the southeast. There was Armageddon. Now, the news media was going crazy. And then what happened is Debbie went right north of Hispaniola, right on the north coast, and the inflow completely got destroyed by these very high 10,000-foot mountains over Hispaniola. So the next 24 hours are critical to see if Irene continues to strengthen here as it moves off to the west-northwest. But our current feature are the Turks and Caicos Islands out here in the East Bahamas, and they are going to get hammered here in about 10 hours by sustained tropical storm force winds. All right, let's take a look at the models from a couple of days ago. Here we are back on August 20th, and you can see that the European model, the black line here, had it going well south of Puerto Rico through the Greater Antilles and right up the east coast of Florida. Well, that never happened because Irene ended up moving over Hispaniola and is now in this position up in here. So the only models that were even remotely close to that were the GFS and the BAM models. And so if we go forward here and look at the GFS and the BAM models, and let's blow this up a little bit, and the GFS and the BAM models are pretty much over the northwest Bahamas as they had it going right over Puerto Rico. And some of the other models that now had it going over Puerto Rico initialized properly were the Canadian model and the LBAR model, which are way out here to the east of the Bahamas. So there's definitely a trend going on here. Even the European model yesterday had it going off the coast of Florida and right into South Carolina. Well, let's look at the current model runs. And there we are. There's our current position of Irene. And the models that have been doing the best, the GFS and the BAM models, way out here, hooking off to the northeast. And this could have huge ramifications for a potential of no landfalls in the United States. Now, there's a possibility this could miss the United States altogether. Now, here's the official forecast, the white line going right into South Carolina. But notice the UK Met now has begun to go east of Florida. The UK Met was stubbornly out here in the Gulf of Mexico for days and days worth of model runs, as well as the GFDL. But now the GFDL model has it going right over South Florida. But I think the GFDL model is going to shift a little bit to the east too. And I think they're going to come to a happy medium here right over the northwest Bahamas. And then the system may very well curve out into the Atlantic. Now, the Euro does take it right up the east coast, so we could have a significant system, depending on how strong it gets in this area right here, what would depend on how strong it is when it goes over the mid-Atlantic coast and the northeast. Now, again, there's always the possibility this thing could kick out into the open Atlantic. Now, here's the Euro from yesterday's model run, the 21st. Let's blow this up a little bit. Yesterday's model run had it right over the east coast of Florida and right into the Jacksonville, Georgia area, coming right in there as a major hurricane. And notice there's a little bit of troughiness up here near Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, and there's a high pressure ridge out here about 10-20 millibars. But let's see what today's is showing. And let's look, see, the same thing happens, but notice the trough is a little bit stronger up in here, and the high pressure is a little bit weaker. So that's the reason why the model wants to take Irene right up and follow that trough. So chances are it'll be a glancing blow for the Carolinas and then right up following that trough if the European model pans out. The European model has got a very good track record, and I would not discount this at all. And here's the UK Met from yesterday. UK Met continuously wanted to take this system into the Gulf of Mexico. It just did it run after run after run. Notice we have a 1027 millibar high pressure ridge out here. Well, why has the UK Met changed so much? Let's look at the new run, and you can see 1026 millibar high. The high weakens a little bit, it shrinks a little bit, but more importantly, there's a more pronounced trough up in here in the northeastern United States, much lower pressures than there was yesterday at this time. So that's the indications of why this system is going to turn. The trough is going to become a little bit stronger up in here and turn Irene to the north. Now, here are the current pressures out in the Atlantic from sailweather.com. And you see 10-15 millibars all the way across. Here's 1014. So we have high pressure established down here. But notice the pressures are beginning to fall over in here. And this is all heading to the southeast. And it's going to break this ridge down. But the question is the ridge, again, we have 1014, 1015 all the way down in this area here. That's the high pressure ridge right now. So is it going to be able to break it down enough to cause the turn off the coast of Florida? That's why the GFDO insists on taking this into the state of Florida. It wants to hold that ridge in place and not break it down very much with the trough. So we'll see about that. But right now, pressures are not that low out there. They're pretty high in the Atlantic, so this is not going to turn north anytime soon. And here, of course, are the sea surface temperatures piping hot. Plenty of fuel for an impossible major hurricane. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this got up to a Category 4 or 5 hurricane while in the northwest Bahamas or just north of the Bahamas here. We'll have to see how that all plays out. But residents all along the southeastern United States, in fact, all the way up the eastern seaboard, pay very close attention to Hurricane Irene. This could be a very serious situation going into the weekend. That's it for now. Again, nightly around 9 p.m. I'll be live on the Hurricane Watch Show with Bill Phillips. We'll be going over some of the models and the stuff going on out in the Atlantic, the latest news reports. You can call in and give us your opinion on what you think about Irene. We'll do that each night until the threat is no longer there for Hurricane Irene. And then, of course, when it makes landfall, if it makes landfall in the United States as a hurricane, we'll do the Hurricane Warning Show and we'll announce that as well. That's it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.